Welcome back, True Seeker. It is Saturday, January 25th, 2025, and I want to go into deeper detail about the significance of Larry Ellison's remarks September 12th, 2024, envisioning his utopia surveillance state where everybody is under the watchful eye of a camera and a super AI is keeping tabs on everything to make sure everyone's following the rules. And then we want to talk about that in light of the Stargate project, where Larry Ellison was right there next to Trump talking about his other ideas. Again, a world where AI can monitor your blood and detect illness and come up with cures within 48 hours to solve those problems. Again, all things good and bad in the world. We're going to talk about where people need to look at the bad in these ideas and how detrimental they can and will be to society rather than getting caught up in the utopia side of it. And I also want to talk about this alongside something that I think almost everybody would be excited about, but then thinking about it in terms of the AI scope. Donald Trump is talking about seriously abolishing the IRS and income tax. Hey, I totally love it. I love that idea. And in place of the IRS, he wants to create the external revenue service where rather than focusing on taxes being paid fairly by citizens, it focuses on taxes being paid by foreign entities, which are tariffs. So making sure they're paying their tariffs. I like this idea. Of course, that could cause problems with trade, and it could also greatly accelerate the cost of living for Americans since so many products we get are made abroad. Then again, it might bring back more domestic production, which could be good for the American worker, like post-World War II era, where there was a lot of things being built in the States, which was ultimately good for its citizens and economy. So this does sound great. But again, they're talking about developing this super AI that keeps tabs on everything. We're also getting closer and closer to moving towards digital currency. So let's just say that the IRS is abolished, income tax is abolished. Let's say these things happen in Trump's administration. The problem is in future administrations, the IRS could come right back, but it wouldn't be the IRS, right? It would now just be the AI system. You don't even need to employ people. The AI is now making sure income taxes are being paid. They can bring the income tax right back. Digital currency, now you have no way of escaping the taxation burden of the American government. And for many years, people have figured out how to escape their tax liability. To me, that's not a bad thing. To me, the bad thing is having to pay taxes to this tyrannical government that uses our money to kill people abroad, shift our money off to the rich ruling class, which is really why we have a billionaire ruling class. Again, you just saw Trump's stage where who's up there? All these tech giants who really became billionaires because of all the government grants they got to help build the technology and the databases for the surveillance state, which is exactly what it is. So again, you need to think about these things in a larger worldview and moving forward. The U.S. has tremendous debt. Think about it. A lot of our debt is financed by our trade partners. If all of a sudden we're making our trade partners pay the taxes to pay back their debt, don't you see how that's going to be a problem for them? So you can see a future world where this could be a temporary experiment. No more income tax, external taxes on our trade partners who are financing our debt. That could lead to wars. That could lead to, again, there's just so many different ways it could spiral out. But the point is, we're moving into this digital surveillance age where there really is the computer and technological capability to keep tabs on all of us. And in a way, we've seen this, how it works on social media, which has billions of users, where billions of people for now, the last 5 or so years, more than 5 years, really, you could say the last decade, where our speech has been under the scrutiny of AI, where we're constantly getting censored and deleted and our comments taken down in real time, the information we put out taken down in real time. information we had out years before has been erased by this AI that's going through and filtering and getting rid of things they don't want. And remember, this hit a fever pitch, the censorship, in the time of the last Trump administration. Under the scandemic, it was Trump who went along and became the father of the jab and went along with the bankers out of Switzerland and really didn't do anything to disrupt the collaboration between big tech and big government as they created a greater surveillance state than we'd ever seen. As for the first time, provisions from the Patriot Act that came out of 9/11 were implemented for the first time in the growing surveillance state. A lot of things people didn't pay attention to because they're so caught up in entertainment and the latest tabloid news. And again, people are more focused on Donald Trump's affairs and accusations by women, which are something to think about, but not nearly as important as the actual shaping of the land in terms of the policies and the fascism, which is exactly what we have here in America. And that's also why they have little Elon Musk Jesuit puppet doing his fascist Roman / small mustache man salutes. Again, when Werner von Braun wrote the book about Project Mars and the Elon, and here we are in 2025, which in astrology is the year of Mars with the 47-year orbital cycle. Werner von Braun dead 47 years ago. All things we covered the other night. Which, by the way, you guys, I just see all the videos out there that covered that topic that have hundreds of thousands, millions of views, really circulating, a lot of audience eating it up. And you watch those videos, I mean, there's literally nothing to them. Literally just like no content that a viewer can walk away with and be any wiser than they were before. And what I noticed in all those videos is people have a really nice backdrop. Host is in a suit. I might have to make that move. I might have to get to where I do like a nightly broadcast from the studio in a suit. I could do those things if I wanted to. In the small office building that I've owned now for more than a year. Again, it's being paid off. It's not all the way paid off. There are people renting the building, but within that building, the only tenant I've lost had a very small office within an office. It's been for rent, but nobody's taken it. I'm thinking I should probably make some kind of green screen studio in there and maybe start doing one of these fancier broadcasts. And I probably have to rebrand the whole channel because this channel is shadow banned to hell. It doesn't matter what I do on this channel or on Gematria Effect Sports. Have you guys seen what they've done to Gematria Effect Sports? In March of 2023, it fell by 6,000 subs overnight down to 89,000, and it's never got off 89,000. It's just stayed on 89,000 now for over 2 years. Or it'll be 2 years in March. But yeah, just all of my channels are shadow banned and destroyed. So probably going to have to rebrand a channel and build it from the ground back up. And yeah, it might take the suit and a fancier little studio setup. And having to work it out with Sweet Lady, but it's going to have to be a nighttime thing. And I guess maybe even having a scheduled show, do like a 2-hour show Monday through Friday. Yeah, because I know I always joke that I feel like throwing in the white towel. I mean, I do feel like that every day, but there's no quit and there's no quitting on what's going on. The new show would also have to be a lot less gematria because, again, we got to face facts. The reality is that people don't like numbers and people don't like the occult. And, Mark Passio, Jesuit educated, former handpicked satanic priest by Anton LaVey, who's turned to whistleblower on that, at least so he says, he often rants about how it's frustrating that, the people are conditioned to not listen to anything occult. And because of that, they'll never see how the powers that shouldn't be operate because they are occult and they operate within occult principles. It really is a catch-22. It doesn't mean I won't talk about it anymore. It just means, again, I'll go back to more something like what I was like when, it was post 2001 through 2013. Those were the years of my life where I was speaking about, again, you guys, I saw it on day one when 9/11 happened. I saw the military police state in action being created. It was so obvious. I mean, these things were already happening before 9/11, but it just went into hyperspeed after 9/11. And it's the topic I always talked about, how they're building a military police surveillance state. I mean, Patriot Act screamed that out. And that thing was out within, what, a couple months after 9/11 happened. They were talking about it in the days after. Just so obvious. So anyway, with regards to that, 9/11 launching the Patriot Act, which really, bolstered the military police surveillance state. And now here we are. Did you see what Larry Ellison said the day after September 11th? Look up Larry Ellison, September 12th, 2024, talking about the future surveillance state where everyone is under the watchful eye of cameras and how he sees it being a positive thing for society. Here's how they emphasized it. Everyone will be on their best behavior. And again, you have to look at all things good and bad. Again, if you don't ever look at both sides of the equation, you're not doing yourself justice, or whatever topic you're talking about, you're not doing it justice. Hello, flat earthers. You guys have not taken any time to research the model, for example, the spherical model, the one that was arrived at by over 2,500 thousands of years of research and studied by millions of different people. For example, the model that accurately predicts no matter what your coordinates are on Earth, what time the sun will set, what time it'll rise, what you can see in the sky from that exact position down to the second in terms of the other planetary bodies, where the moon's going to be, where the sun's going to be. Again, these telescopes that you can buy that are based on that mathematics, you can program your coordinates, and then you can type through your app for the telescope, you can say, I want to look at this right now, and the telescope will go right there, and you can look through it and it's there. Again, the calculations that have figured out exactly what the tide schedule is for what part of the world you're on, exactly when the eclipses are going to happen, what part of the world is going to witness the eclipse by the exact coordinates and exact time that it will begin and end. This model that has all of these things down to a science, down to the second, that's verifiable and undeniable. You have a whole group of people on the internet right now that don't do any research into that and neglect all that. And they're like, well, I like this idea because I saw a YouTube video of a sun under the clouds. And yeah, we don't have a real model, but I don't care. Again, all of these people don't do proper research. They don't look at both sides of the issue. They can't weigh the scales. They don't have enough discernment or intelligence or critical thinking to figure out what's going on. And making fun of that group, it's just like the same group of people who, the day 9/11 happened, they didn't weigh the scales of the narratives. The mainstream versus, say, the conspiracy theorist, the person like me. And I hate to use that term conspiracy theorist because it's a coined term that came from the CIA that has an automatic connotation with it. Oh, conspiracy theory, that's stupid, instantly dismissed. But again, just because that's the term that is understood, there's the perspective of the conspiracy theorist, and then there's the mainstream. And again, the mainstream instantly knew that bin Laden did it. The mainstream that we don't even go down this. It's just the mainstream just told you a bunch of lies that didn't make any sense, and left out the part that bin Laden was literally a CIA asset. And then they didn't explain. I mean, they should have been bringing on physicists, right? They should have been bringing on physicists to explain that 9/11 was literally physically impossible. That planes can't fly at that rate of speed at that low altitude. That these maneuvers that were pulled off by these amateur pilots who could hardly fly Cessnas. Again, like I always say, I mean, if 9/11 really happened as the official story, we should all convert to Islam, because obviously God embraces Islam, and more miracles were pulled off on that day, including taking out 3 skyscrapers with 2 planes. The only 3 steel frame buildings to ever collapse in history from fires happened on 9/11. And, but planes hit them. Yeah, but have you also watched when they were built? Because literally the engineers were explaining that they were built to withstand crashes from commercial air flight. And why was that? Because the Empire State Building in 1945 had a jumbo military plane crash into it, and somehow it didn't fall down and turn into a pile of dust. But anyway, again, that's why it had these people who are under the indoctrination of media and authority. Had they actually weighed these things, they would have been like, yeah, you know what? All the evidence is on the conspiracy theorist side. This side really doesn't make any sense. It's like impossible. And again, science, right? Science actually disproves 9/11, the official story. And science also disproves the flat earth shit. And what's funny is it's the Jesuits who perpetrate both lies on all sides. And again, flat earth, most flat earthers didn't wake up to anything they should have woke up to. they woke up to flat Earth, which isn't waking up. It's just, I don't know, dumb people catching on to something else dumb. But again, the reason flat Earth was unleashed on Google's platforms in the summer of 2015 the way it was is because there really was a growing awareness of people coming out of a coma. And I mean, even, Big Al, our friend in the community, Big Al will tell you he started to wake up around that same time too, just like a lot of Americans did. For all of us speaking out from the time of 9/11, and people who are even older than me speaking up before then, we all started to notice the same thing around. It's funny, it really was like around the 2012 time. People were like freaking out and think the world was going to end. I knew that was a load of buoy too. I was never into, oh yeah, I'm sure the world is going to end in 2012. But there might have really been something about, the Mayan age and shifting of consciousness and the Bach tune and all that. Somehow around that period of time, a lot of people were finally starting to look into things and ask questions. And, oh my God, have you seen the movie Zeitgeist? And I do think that Zeitgeist movie did. And again, I have some things. The Zeitgeist movie series is mostly good, but that Venus Project, have you ran the gematria on that? That's another story. Anyway, again, at the time that a lot of people are starting to wake up, all of a sudden comes the biggest psyop in the truth community in the history of the world. And you saw it took like half of the people with it. And these people are religious oriented, and they don't have enough intelligence or discernment to see that it's a psyop. And that's just so obvious by just reading their remarks. Again, like I said, I mean, if you can't acknowledge that the model that you say is false literally predicts everything down to the second, which is true, sunsets, and based on where you are on Earth, and it's all based on the spherical math model. I mean, but it literally does. You can type in your coordinates for where you are in the world, and it'll tell you exactly when the sun's going to rise and sun's going to set. It's all that math is based on a sphere, and it's all correct every single day, and accurately forecasts all these things. Like I just said, it does all that. But again, the religious mind will be like, well, that's because it's like reptilians are running it, and then they control all the bodies moving. You see, what you guys start to do is you start to give too much power to fantasy things rather than focusing on things that do have too much power, like our government and media and a growing group of small people who siphon our tax money because we are used as tax cattle. Anyway, let me come back to the topic right here. Larry Ellison, the day after the September 11th anniversary at Oracle, a future teller at their financial analyst meeting, talks about his vision for the AI surveillance state that's going to solve our problems. And here, let's be fair. If you didn't see this, I was on a panel yesterday talking about this, and the panel liked the idea. They said they would like to live in an AI surveillance state. And you know what? I can't decide if all these people are just paid for agents or if they really do represent the American people. In a way, I kind of feel like maybe the average American would like to live in the AI surveillance state. They were saying, listen, man, I mean, imagine how little crime there will be. We'll feel a lot safer. Women can probably feel free to go roam the streets of a major city at night. Okay, I could see how, yeah, for a woman, that's probably true. I mean, you want to be a woman and go roam the streets alone at night? Again, but should women be roaming any streets alone at night? I don't know. Okay. Anyway, that argument beside the point. Again, all things, you got to weigh the good and bad. Okay. What about the fact, though, that, as we know, if you're awake, the authorities are the ones doing the most murder in the world, funneling the most drugs behind human trafficking. I'm sure they're the same ones whose cameras won't work, so they'll be able to escape the surveillance. Are you sure that? Because maybe it does sound like, yeah, a woman might be less likely to get jumped by, some weirdo creeper like ODD Reality. And again, I've seen what it is to be a homeless, or a woman on the streets of Seattle with the homeless. A typical homeless man isn't going to engage with a man walking down the streets. I mean, that can happen too, but they can get a bit creepy with the women. I've seen it with my own eyes many a times. And again, it's this is another thing that could be solved in other ways too. There's a lot of mentally ill people out on the streets that had homes for them until Ronald Reagan came around and kicked them all out and escalated the homeless population. But anyway, yeah, there could be good things to everyone being under total surveillance, but who is controlling the total surveillance system? Again, is it not the authorities that again are responsible for the most murder through war? Again, drug trafficking, and again, just authorities wanting to delete and destroy political opposition. Imagine that if their opposition's under total surveillance at all times. A very small group of powerful people who live for power and control, having the ability to keep total surveillance on humanity. And again, just the fact that we grew up in a society where we were warned about such things, especially through this popular fiction like 1984. But again, Benjamin Franklin, those who sacrifice liberty for safety deserve neither. And yeah, you can't guarantee that you'll be safer in this system. There could be a lot more problems for a lot of people. I imagine the prole who just follows all the rules and goes to work and minds their business and never raises a peep, they would be just fine in these systems. But yeah, for the people who see what's wrong, good luck and good night. So anyway, and again, you think about the average American, that they've already been shaped mostly into the person that the authority wants, just believing in authority, not questioning anything, marching along to the tune of whatever the authority says to them. So really, this final step would be the phasing out of people like us. And again, the 90% of America who's probably like the panel I was on yesterday, they'd probably like to see the phasing out of us. If everybody could just harmoniously just go along with whatever authority says all day, every day. And you guys really should think about this, because this is the direction of things, and it really does seem that there's no real will of human beings to come together and do anything to stop this system. I mean, I've tried hard to bring people together, and we've had small groups come out, nowhere near enough to do anything about anything. And you don't really see many other people making an effort in the world to come out and gather about things that matter. You see large gatherings over pro-life and pro-choice. People are passionate about that, but again, that's just a problem that's a symptom of our society, and not really identifying or willing to do anything about the larger tyranny that's created the abortion mess by the numbers. People gather for entertainment. I mean, there's not really a lot of large gatherings for anything else. You'll see a major company, if they really screw their employees, some of the employees will come out and protest, but even still, it's just a small percentage. There's not a lot of things that people are really willing to gather and stand up for against this agenda. I suppose with some of the militarism stuff in the world, you did see people marching across the world to stop the unjust wars in the Middle East. But those people, even the majority of people in those crowds, they're not willing to do anything besides hold up hands and march together. Or I said hands, signs though. Mostly at the end of the day, that their limit is they'll put up a sign and they'll march peacefully and then they'll go home. And that's not anything either. That's never going to change anything. It's like a controlled release of people who are opposed that gets almost no media coverage. And again, nothing comes out of it. Again, Jefferson told you what you have to do. If you do not revolt every 19 years, was his quote, every 19 years, you will lose your rights and liberties. And we get it now. He understood. He was obviously aware of the occult. And again, a lot of occult guys, again, they move by the 19-year cycle of the moon. 19 hijackers, 19 years later, C19 with both events, rights and liberties lost, and the surveillance state built further. But okay, here we go. Coming back. Larry Ellison, the day after September 11th anniversary, comes out and he says this utopia. And again, just look at the way the media emphasized the phrase best behavior, right? How it's going to bring out people's best behavior. You know, I imagine for a lot of people, it might curb some of their behaviors that they're addicted to. You know, um, but yeah, Jesuit order, right? 5472, best behavior, Oracle, the future teller, Oracle 54. Larry Ellison, the chosen one. And keep in mind that September 12th leaves 110 days left in the year, right? Oracle literally relates to prophecy. A priest or priestess, an oracle is a priest or priestess acting as a medium through whom advice or prophecy was sought from the gods in classical antiquity. Again, on the day leaving 110 days left in the year, he lays out the future utopia where everyone's under their best behavior, under surveillance. And the AI can keep tabs on it all. Now, notice in a leap year, which 2024 was, the day he delivered his remarks, that was the 256th day of the year. And remember, 256 is the 201st composite number. 201 is that big signal number for the Jesuits, the Jesuits who founded Silicon Valley, where all the big tech is now. And we'll get to how he made his remarks in Austin, which has become another Jesuit stronghold where a lot of the big tech people are moving to. You know, Joe Rogan got out of LA just in time as he gave his prophecy of LA burning down on the 201st day of the year by the numbers as we covered. Joe Rogan, who's become a mouthpiece for the establishment. And again, a lot of people think he used to be the real deal. He was never the real deal, you guys. Joe Rogan was never the real deal. He's always, you know, taking stabs and shots at people who question 9/11. He's always been a chosen media goon who made his world in Hollywood, and then, you know, with news radio, and then Fear Factor, where he challenged people to eat cockroaches. Again, you think about that, you guys, because aren't they? You know, that was a big thing on Fear Factor: eating bugs, crickets, roaches, slugs, all the constantly eating insects on Fear Factor. Now you got the Jesuit who runs the World Economic Forum, who Trump's friends with, putting on Event 201, telling you that you'll own nothing and be happy. You'll eat the bugs. Let's put it all together, you guys. But again, 256 is the 201st composite number. It's also the 16th square, meaning it has a square root of 16. Remember, the Jesuits since the 16th century, the 201 order. Keep in mind the date can be written 12/9, like 129. 129 is 201 in base 8 counting. 9/11. 2 towers became 0 before they became 1. The Twin Towers became no towers, rebuilt as 1 World Trade Center. The first Jesuit university in the nation, Georgetown, their motto, both into 1. Remember, New World Order equals the Jesuit order in Gematria. And again, you go to Jesuit universities, you look at the plaques they have up on the campus, the etchings in the wall, a lot of comments about being the driving force of globalization. Donald Trump, the Jesuit actor back in the presidency, wants to grow North America into the United States. He wants to absorb Canada, Greenland, part of Mexico. And again, I mean, the United States has been this growing thing since the beginning. So, and again, it's just crazy. You know, you got shill Alex Jones, who's obviously been a shill from the beginning for anyone with a brain, but his shilling used to be a lot better brand. I mean, it was a lot more palatable and there was a lot more truth in it. He was warning about the Amero, the United States becoming one North American continent, for years warning about this, the growing New World Order, and now he's literally championing it. It's like, how does this audience like not fall off? Does he have the same audience he had a decade ago? I mean, like, who's watching? You don't see what's going on? Bill Cooper told you from day one. I'm suspicious of Bill Cooper too, but Bill Cooper told you from day one that Alex Jones was a fraud and a liar and just stealing the best of his work to make his own name. But yeah, Silicon Valley, where these big tech companies are, was literally founded by the Jesuits. Santa Clara University is there. It's where little Gavin Newsom, Slick Willie went to school. Again, Santa Clara University. And look what it says. It says before the Jesuits came, it was ran by the Franciscans. It makes sense. The Franciscans were the precursors to the Jesuits. San Francisco is named after St. Francis of Assisi, who created the Franciscans. Pope Francis, the first Jesuit pope, is named after St. Francis of Assisi. But yeah, these remarks by Larry Ellison were delivered in Austin. Obviously, he's Mr. Big Tech in Silicon Valley. But the remarks were delivered in Austin. And we've talked about all the ritualism that comes out of Austin. Remember, they moved the power controls down to Austin right before Texas had that big blackout from the crazy weather on Valentine's Day, which we predicted months in advance because it was all synced up with Klaus Schwab. The biggest refining city in America got the worst of it, as the Jesuit Klaus Schwab is also talking about climate change and what needs to be done. And again, Jesuits are behind every major agenda going on, the climate change agenda. And again, we should respect the earth and take better care of it. We should cut down emissions, but even more so, cut down all the plastic and trash that we fill the world up with. It's all over the beaches of third world nations where we send our trash off to. Again, I'm not opposed to the ideas of taking better care of the earth and making responsible decisions. I think everybody should. It's just the fact of how they use these ideas politically to give themselves more power and control. And I mean, where's the focus anywhere on the trash all over the world and ocean? Not really anywhere from the authorities. It's always on the carbon emissions. And you see why, because then they can, all their weather warfare stuff that they do, then they can blame it on climate change. That's why it's all, again, they keep everybody on the lens of a narrative that they can control. And it's sad that people don't know, for example, that the first act of weather warfare was admitted to in 1952 on the Jesuit order's birthday on August 15th, and how what they just did in Los Angeles was foretold in the movie Lockdown 2025, but also perfectly coordinated with the August 15th date on the 7th day of the first month. Again, in Gematria, Santa Ana equals 71 and 145 like Catholic. Those Santa Ana winds that burned down LA were 71, or on the date 7-1, but 145 days after the first admitted act of weather warfare. We talked about that exact same 71-145 pattern in the winds that burned down Maui, and another Jesuit ritual coordinated and synced with Jesuit-educated Joe Biden. But Mr. Green New Deal, and remember we told you Green New Deal equaled 113. That was part of the reason we said he'd win the November 3rd rigged election back in 2020. Became number 46 weeks after the Pope's birthday, again when Catholic equals 46, and he sacrificed Beau Biden at age 46, 201 days before the Pope's birthday. Then Trump sacrifices his ex-wife in a 201 ritual, synced up 60 weeks into the first Jesuit nation year before he wins the rigged 60th election. You know, the reality is, though, when you talk about these things, if you just left out the number part, more people would probably listen to it and like it. That's what's sad. So I realize if I go forward with making the studio and dressing up nicer and doing my hair nice each day, just going to have to talk about these things with a lot less numbers. The reality is, in the programmed imbecile, which is the average American, and I'll have to be nicer too. I can't refer to Americans as programmed imbeciles, which is what they are. Again, I'm just going to have to tailor some things. I have to be looking nice, talking nice and sweet, but in a way that the programmed imbecile can absorb it. Because, yeah, I look at all these people that have millions of views and 100,000s of views. I mean, a lot of them are fat and sloppy looking. Suit's not even that nice. Backdrop isn't that interesting. Nothing they're saying is original. I just look and I say, I can do this way better than all these people. I've been doing this for longer than any of them. I've been speaking out when nobody was speaking out. And that's why we figured out things that nobody ever figured out before. But the problem is we're just so far ahead of the curve, people can't keep up. They're still back in the Stone Ages. You know, it's the year 2000 BCE and we got smartphones. They think we're witches and warlocks. And again, that's why a lot of people say, oh, numerology, that's evil. Like, well, I'm exposing how evil people use numerology. I'm not teaching you to be a numerologist. But yeah, you just look at the overlap with Austin and Jesuit, and it's got that big fat 84, like how we all, coming up in my generation at least, had to read Orwell's 1984 in middle school and in high school. They made us read it 2 times when I was coming up. And I just see it now. It's just so obvious to me that they did that to our generation because we were going to see it implemented firsthand as soon as we graduated. You know, I got out of high school summer of 2001. A few months later, boom, demolition of towers with the retard as the president of the United States. Or I don't know. I guess that's another way I could go with the show too. Dress nice, have a nice backdrop, and be more like myself, but take it to a whole new level of rants and ripping on these stupid fucking losers. I don't know. We'll experiment. It is true that when I started, I did act like Mr. Rogers, and that didn't resonate with many people. Again, this channel didn't really get any views until I went on my first rant. I still remember what my first rant was about. It was when Trevor Noah had taken over the Daily Show, and he was being accused of being anti-Semitic as a Jewish man. Like what? Oh, man. Hey, by the way, the ADL where Jonathan Greenblatt was installed on the 201st day of the year, Anti-Defamation League equals 84, like Jesuit. Did you guys see that the ADL is covering up for Elon Musk's Nazi salute? Oh, man, I told you Jesuits run the whole damn thing, man. I've been telling you they run the ADL. By the way, you guys, really good documentary to watch right here. This one's from years ago. This is 8 years ago. And at the end, they catch how Trump is now being, this is before Trump becomes president when this came out, but they're like, look, now they're trumping Trump up, also Jesuit educated. A lot of really good things in this documentary. It's on Adam 1984's channel. It's called Final Warning, Jesuit New World Order, Pope Francis, Obama, Putin, ISIS, World War III. Doesn't have any gematria components. But just a lot of evidence about the history of the Jesuits and people speaking out. This woman who works for the World Bank, talking about what the Jesuits are doing within the World Bank. Just a lot of gems in here. And isn't it sad? 100,000 views in the video with my like doesn't even have 1,000 likes. And what's sad is if this was a video blaming Jews, it would probably have a lot of likes. Probably have a lot more views and likes. But there's a component to this video where they get into how they use Jewish bankers as a shield, and kind of like a what do you call it? A piñata. They just drag the Jewish banker out in front, like the Rothschild. And I've showed you how, like the Rothschild on the Balfour Declaration, how he died in a big 201 ritual, like State of Israel equals 201, like the Jesuit order, like how David Ben Gurion, the first prime minister, died in a 201 ritual. Again, you learn the code. You can see the truth, but yeah, people are in their lanes, the lanes of indoctrination. And again, the truth community is a huge component, is Christian, right-wing, Jew-hating, kind of like Nazis, right? And that's why they love to blame the Jew. It's like, you know that your spiritual leader is a Jew, right? You know Jesus is from Judea. He's Jewish in terms of the English language. Yeah, and a lot of Christians don't know that because they've never read their book. They're just, cattle in a herd. Don't even know about the things they believe in. One more point about this Larry Ellison thing. 10th of September was the day the bulletin was put out that they were going to have this meeting on the 12th of September. So that day can be written 10/9, the day the bulletin went out. In Gematria, surveillance state equals 109. Orwellian equals 109. Military equals 109. Remember, Ignatius of Loyola became the first superior general of the Jesuits on April 19th, the 109th day of the year. Reminds that Waco's not too far from Austin. That was a big April 19th ritual, as was Oklahoma City. 201s all over Oklahoma City. But yeah, again, you guys, it's just, it's way beyond go time. A part of me every day just want to throw in the white towel and just figure out how to take care of myself and my family. But I realize that would be a sellout move, and it would also be stupid because this is a new world order, and you cannot really escape what is coming. You might be able to relocate to another part of the world, and maybe it'll buy you 10, 20, 30 more years, or then again, maybe not. Technology can move very rapidly, and yeah, again, to be perfectly honest, this is how I see it, you guys. I see it as a fight that maybe cannot be won. These people are too big, they're too powerful, that they're too well established, that it's too far into the game. But again, if you don't fight back, what does that make you? Does that not make you a punk? Is that not the definition of a loser? Is that not the definition of a sellout? To me, it is. To me, it is. And yeah, the other reason that it would be in my interest to go create a studio, again, I do have the office space that I could do it right now, is just because, well, again, it'd have to be a nighttime thing. Just Sweet Lady doesn't like when I'm in here ranting in the room. Our house isn't big enough, and she doesn't want any of that rant energy near the baby. And again, I get that too because I just want, and our baby's very happy and smiling. I don't think anything's happening right now that's negative. A very happy baby, but yeah, if I'm in a separate building away from the house, rant away, rant away. So, but yeah, I mean, you look around on YouTube right now, the coverage of people in suits with nice little backdrops talking about the Musk salute with literally nothing to their broadcast, nothing interesting to say. Just, I mean, how many views are there on all those videos combined on the internet right now? About 100 million, more than that. And here's our video, my little video that has 8,000 views. Of course, had I done it in 2016, it probably would have got a million views itself. But 8,000 just ain't going to cut it. It's a small little town. That's a little drive-by town in the middle of nowhere that saw it. So, no, we got to figure out how to really get the information we've been pumping out in people's minds for the sake of humanity. And there might be some other people in the world who've been on it, but again, I don't know anyone who's been more dedicated, more on it, and brought something to the table. By the way, there's going to be a debate tomorrow at 10:15 a.m. Pacific, 1:15 Eastern tomorrow, Sunday. The debate's kind of vague. If here's what the guy challenged me on. He said he's going to prove tomorrow that gematria is not that important and there's better information in the truth community. So that's what the debate's going to be about. And you know what? I'm open to him being correct, because if there's better information, I might just switch over the whole thing. Because again, to me, it's like it remains to be. If he's going to come on tomorrow and argue that it's flat Earth, that debate's going to get cut off, and I'm just going to kick him off, and the stream's going to last 2 minutes. But because he didn't say what it is, he said that's his ace up his sleeve. But I welcome the debate, and I hope he is right, and I really hope it's not some flat Earth stunt. Because you hear the flat earthers say it all the time. The most important information in the world is the flat Earth, because then it opens up all the other secrets. Okay, so what's the next big secret after the Earth's flat? Then where do we go? Earth's flat. Does that help me forecast anything? Help me see how these murderous psychopaths operate? Does it help me see why they call it the project or the Stargate project and release it 47 years after the last government Stargate project, and how the title has the 47 encoded in it? Does it help me understand why the movie Stargate came out on Bill Gates' birthday, Mr. Tech, Mr. Jab, another advocate for the surveillance state, as he was talking about in the early days of cooties when they were talking about what they can do with the new 5G technology in our phones and keeping tabs on who's following the rules? And don't forget, Microsoft owns OpenAI. Remember, the Stargate project, the movie, or excuse me, just Stargate, came out on Bill Gates' 39th birthday, and Sam Altman, who this thing's also synced with, is 39 years old right now. Altman. It's like, is he an Altman? Is it they live? Is it 2025? Is it that they take over the world by the aliens posing as humans in 2025? But yeah, the other reason that I have to change the broadcast is I'm convinced that just dressing nice and having a nice backdrop is what makes people donate to people's work. I watch these shit broadcasts with no real information that helps with anything. I watch how these people just get big bills just thrown at them all through the stream. And then so often I'm used to ending my stream. You know, I'm an hour and a half in, 2 hours in, dropped a whole bunch of dope information, spent 4 hours researching all morning, putting the post together, 6 hours of work, streams over, 0 super chats, $1.99 in super chats, 99 cents in super chats. Again, I never got into this for money, but again, like I said, in 2018, when I'd exhausted all my savings for doing this for over 5 years for free, and then found out I couldn't be hired back into my profession on the same day I have the feds coming to my house and harassing me and giving sweet lady a panic. I was like, I got to switch up the game. I guess it's going to take resources to make a difference, and I can't continue to operate on fumes with nothing to pay the bills now. But yeah, I just watch essentially just bum broadcasts, and these guys make, you know, $1,000 in an hour. And I'm thinking, man, if I had $1,000 rolling in every time I stream for an hour, I mean, we'd be getting it done. So I got to try it out. Or, I mean, the other reason that maybe those are so well financed is because actually they're just controlled opposition and just giving people infotainment where there's no real education in it. And it makes them look like the secondary news media. If you can't afford CNN, you can just watch the news on YouTube. But yeah, I mean, that's how it is in my mind. It's like, why am I doing this? I mean, 6 hours of work to make 99 cents. Could have went down to the McDonald's and made $120 for the day. So could have flipped some burgers. All right, we did better than normal here. We're an hour in, and it looks like we made $7 before the 30% take, which is what they're going to take 2/10. So we're up to $4.90 for nearly an hour. Not bad. Her Watson says, I was a snake, but yet you let me in. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've been talking about that for years, right? All the reasons that we called out Trump returning. Thank you to all the people who helped put together the hours and hours of compilations of me for the last 4 years explaining why Trump would come back in 2024 and retake his throne in 2025. Those compilation videos out there are definitely help getting out the work and more people finding the knowledge. And really, I'm being facetious because none of those videos exist, but they should. You know, I have a troll who's dedicated every day to chopping up and only putting out what's wrong. You know, he put out a new video yesterday about being wrong about the Notre Dame championship, which is totally disingenuous because before the season, we said that either Notre Dame, Georgia, or Ohio State would win the championship. And by the way, if you don't pay for my Patreon, the only information you had was Ohio State. So for everyone out there for free, you could have won on Ohio State because I know I brought it up the day that Johnny Gaudreau died. I said this very well looks like a sacrifice for Ohio State right at the start of the college football season. Dead on Route 551 right before the 155th season. But yeah, anyway. Again, if we had millions of followers, those things would be happening. There'd be even more haters, but then there'd actually be people, you know, doing awesome compilations. Right now, there's a whole bunch of compilation videos debating flat Earth. Everyone's still stuck on the topic of the shape of the Earth rather than what's going on Earth. Thank you again, Tammy. Tammy's a good supporter in the community. She's on the Patreon, too. Appreciate that, Tammy. Shout out to John Mendoza. Usually, John Mendoza is the reason we've made $2 in a 2-hour broadcast. Appreciate it, John. But yeah, again, I just realized there has to be a change going forward because there's too much energy expended every day for too little a result. And this is how it's been since pretty much Kobe died. Like I said, I haven't been able to get any real views since Kobe died, except for the videos on January 6th that were accurate predictions before it happened, which got the channel deleted. Got the whole channel deleted over those. And again, haven't even sniffed anywhere near 100K views since the January 6th prediction. And that's a problem. That's a problem because everybody who's in social media is trying to have an impact. Well, I mean, let's be on social media just to get clicks and ad revenue. I got into social media, and again, it's a verifiable fact. For 5 years, I didn't sell a single thing. Nothing was monetized. I didn't put any ads on the channel. I got into social media because I wanted views, but I wanted views to wake up people to stop the growing surveillance state, the tyranny, the unjust wars, the evil wars. Um, Again, I want to make one other point. 1984 has a major Nazi theme to it. If you've never read 1984, it's like a Nazi surveillance state, militaristic Nazi, evil, awful state. And I've thought the same thing since 9/11 happened when I was 18. It made me realize that this isn't the Nazis. I live in a Nazi state. And remember, they did bring the Nazis over here starting on the 201st day of the year with Project Paperclip, July 20th, 1945. But again, I just want to pound home how it's even more obvious. People thought I was mad for saying that back then. People would get offended. I'd have these kind of comments made in topics that would come up in class. And by the way, for everyone who's scared to speak out because the majority of people will demonize you, the other day, the flat earth tard kid called in and he's like, oh, Michael Crowley's CIA, so I can make an argument that you're blah, 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 blah. The reason I got that scholarship, which was an exclusive scholarship, here's how I got the scholarship that I got. I was a good student, but I wasn't in the top 5 academically for the business school at Arizona State. I got put in there. I had good grades. I mean, I was up there. My GPA was like 3.88 or something like that. But I got that scholarship because I had a professor who I believe still teaches at Arizona State. His name was Wendell Lycon. And he called me the resident liberal. And understand, Arizona State was very conservative. I forget what the stat was, over 95% of the student body voted for George W. Bush in the 2004 election. And again, when I'm in Washington State, people think I'm conservative. When I'm in a conservative area, people think I'm liberal. I've never identified as any political thing, but I would always be calling out 9/11, what was going on in the nation, the propaganda. I bring this stuff up in front of a lecture hall of 300 people. And that's because at the time, a lot of the professors down there would be making fun of this or making remarks about how great America is. And we're lucky we don't live in some, communist nation where it's all propaganda on TV every day and everything's so controlled. I had a professor Beers who'd say in a communist nation, everything's so controlled, it's even the weather. He kicked me out of his class. He didn't appreciate. I had to switch. He kicked me out of his class and said he didn't want me back. I had to switch classes because of Professor Beers. I don't know if he's still at Arizona State. And by the way, that wasn't even his birth name. He would always gloat about how he changed his name to Beers to work at the party school. Guy was a douche. But anyway, Wendell Lycon, who also didn't see eye to eye with me, what he liked is how I would get in front of a room of 300 people and make my points and say them loud and clear when I knew that nobody in the room backed what I was saying. And he'd say, you know what you do got, though? You got balls. And eventually he pulled me aside. He said, hey, listen, there's a very, very nice scholarship that you might be inclined to earn. And again, that's how I ended up in, if you guys were watching the stream the other day where we talked about that mostly came from being willing to speak out in front of a unwelcoming audience. And that impressed that professor, even though he didn't really agree with the things I was saying. But I bet somewhere inside his mind, he was thinking like, maybe he's not wrong. And again, that's how I also ended up catching the eye of another professor at that school, Brad Forrest, who I realize has gone back to teaching there. He actually quit working there in 2004 because there was too much money to be made off the war on terror. And I even called him out. I said, isn't that a sellout move? And he kind of shrugged his shoulders like, Zach, this world's about money and power. And he knew that the whole thing was bullshit too. But was he going to pass up the money-making opportunity? Again, the point I'm trying to make, you guys, is if you do the right thing, if you do the brave thing, there will be consequences, but there will also be rewards, including feeling internally like the right person and not a coward and a loser. And that kind of stuff will kill you. And again, you can't worry so much about what your naysayers and haters say. Look how many naysayers and haters I have, and I make more of them each day by ranting against the flat Earth. I don't care. I don't respect any flat Earthers' opinion. I know these people are mental midgets. Again, in a way, I might need to stop doing that because it's like I went on the rant the other day. You know how much support I lost for the month? I lost $300 in support for the month for the flat Earth rant. And the video I put up yesterday dropped support down even more. I'm sure this morning I'm dropping it down even more. It's very hard to gain support. It's very easy to lose support. And again, at the end of the day, like I've been saying since 2015, I don't want to be associated with dumb people. And to me, that includes flat earthers. I don't want to be associated with any flat earthers. You guys are not part of a truth community. You guys are part of a religion. Evidence doesn't matter to you. You represent the same problem with the people that live under the thumb of authority. Evidence doesn't appeal to them either. They're just under a belief system. Authority is their master. They trust the authority. They don't trust anybody else. Only what comes from the news and the authorities is what they trust, and their political party and their preacher. That's their world. If the information doesn't come from the sources that they believe in, it doesn't matter to them. It has no impact on them. And essentially, it's a cult-like thinking. Flat Earth is the same thing. Again, I can lay this out, a perfectly logical argument. I'll just do it one more time. It's not really going to have any impact on any flat earther. You can read I left this question last night for flat earthers. One guy left a 5-paragraph response about how the earth is flat and the reason that they can accurately forecast exactly when the sun's going to rise and set, when the next eclipse is going to happen, where the planetary bodies are in the sky, why there's telescopes that you can buy and type in your coordinates and say, this is what you want to look at. And the telescope will aim exactly there because this is all it's all mathematics. It's all mathematics. It's all been mathematically figured out. A coordinate system has been created through this universal language of mathematics that explains all of the phenomenon that you can observe on Earth, from tide schedules to, again, what sunrise, sunset, where the planetary bodies are. All of this stuff has been figured out on a model with mathematics that's provable, that's predictable, that makes accurate forecasts every single day down to the second. Guy left a 5-paragraph response about the reason they can do that is because, just to boil it down to, because they're a reptilian thing that's controlling the whole thing and making it all happen, but it's really a flat plane. It's like, see, this is where your mind goes to. Okay, so now we're into sci-fi fantasy and your belief system to explain away something that's simpler to understand, that spherical model is true, that it's provable. This is what's wrong with religious thinking. You can just start believing in make-believe. Here, I just made up a make-believe explanation. The moron who called in the other day, like, oh, I looked up Michael Crow has a connection to the CIA, so I could argue you're CIA. That's why you're denouncing the flat earth, because you're CIA. That dummy. He called in the other day, couldn't answer a simple question about all things that don't require science, just simple observation from Earth. And then he's like, well, I don't care about any of that and I don't need a model. I know it's flat because it looks flat. Like, wow. But again, the reason I choose to argue all these things, because it's just like humanity needs to be healed in terms of its intelligence and critical thinking. All of these things spiral out from the same thing: the inability to critically think, the inability to look at evidence, the inability to reason. These things are related to all of these problems. And again, I'm here each day trying to figure out, is the quote true that you can't convince a believer of anything because their system of operating is not believed in evidence? I mean, if that's it, at the end of the day, we're really screwed until the world changes, because almost everyone's been indoctrinated into belief systems through religion, through the state. And apparently within humanity, you see it's like 1 out of 10 of us are the ones that can break out of it. Some of us were never fooled by it from the beginning. But like I was telling you guys in 2015, I mean, the exact words coming out of my mouth. It's not about the shape of the earth. It's what's happening on Earth. And look at where they're taking us to. This tyrannical police surveillance state. I mean, we're almost here. I just find it so funny how, like, it's really being laid out in front of your face at this exact moment. And flat Earth has become a greater focus right now again. Right now again. So many people in the supposed truth community are dedicating all of their energy to proving that the thing they just did down in Antarctica is a total psyop. They're spending all their time on that, trying to figure out how they can prove it's a psyop. Did you notice that their breath wasn't coming out? It's supposedly cold there. Well, again, Antarctica is a desert, and yeah, when you're out in the cold in a place like, well, if I go outside right now, you're gonna see my breath everywhere. I'm in moist Washington. It's not the desert though. Again, if it's dry air, if it's dry cold air, the moisture in the air is what allows you to see the what looks like white smoke coming out. So if you're in a super dry cold environment, yeah, you might not see your breath because there's so little moisture. And then if you're gonna go, well, then how is there snow there? Again, because once it comes down, which is rarely, just like it rarely rains in the desert, it stays cold, so it stays frozen and compacted on the ground. I've seen the flat earth arguments. They're like, look, they're not making snow prints when they walk on the ground. Again, have you guys ever been to a mountain when it hasn't snowed for a few days? It's not fun to ski or snowboard on, and it almost feels like it's like skateboarding when you crash. You hit the concrete, it feels like, because the ice is so hard, just because it didn't get snow for a few days. You're bored and your skis hardly make an edge in it. That's why you got to keep your edges super sharpened. Got to keep your edges super sharpened, especially if you're going to snow or ski board on that kind of stuff, because that's the only way you can even cut in. You know, I mean, the thing about almost everyone is it's like the reason they're so ignorant is because they just have lack of experience in almost everything. People want to have an opinion about things that they have no experience in. People want to have an opinion about my behavior and the way I talk about things. My guess is that if you had lived my life and been like me, speaking out about what's going on in this world since 2001 and been treated the way you would have been treated by your fellow man who's so indoctrinated and so in love with the authorities who lie to him and hate so much people who speak against it, you would probably be even meaner than I am. You know, how many people have you seen try and make their way in the truth community and gave up and quit? A lot. How many people gave up after their channel got deleted for the first time, the second time? How many people hang around for the third channel? You know, I'm on channel 25, and that's only on YouTube. Yeah, again, it's just, it does disappoint me how few people care or support where I'm at this point. I just think about, where did everybody go who used to be down for the cause back in, 8, 7 years ago? Where did they go? Could they not keep up with the deletion of the channels? And was it a mistake to change the channel from Zachary K. Hubbard to GematriaEffectNews? That might have been part of the reason that a lot of people never carried back over. However, my title now forever has been GematriaEffectNews Zachary K. Hubbard. I finally threw Zachary K. Hubbard back in there because I was like, maybe that's the reason we can't get any subs. But thank you, BB Dodge, 10 Canadian. Appreciate that. And shout out to Rob. Rob's $20 donation reminds me that there really is just a small group of us that are down for the cause. Rob has pounded pavement with me from Oklahoma City to Buffalo to New York. There's not many people in the world who can say they were out in Buffalo, New York, and Oklahoma City. There's not many people in the world who can say that at all. And, he's a constant supporter and donor too. Thank you again, Rob. I look forward to the next time we meet up for a Greek Euro. It really is. They live out there. I appreciate the message, Rob. Thank you. Yeah, I'm just not in the compromising business. Sometimes, though, I think maybe it would have been smarter. I mean, if I could see the way it is, you guys, here, let's do a survey. Would it have been smarter in 2015 to jump on the flat earth wave and pretend to be a flat earther and do the gematria thing on top? Do you guys feel like that actually might have been a better strategic move? Should you compromise in some ways? Should you sell out in some ways? If the real true purpose was to continue to push the gematria knowledge, but also ride the flat earth wave, where, again, it opens the door to millions of people who think that's the most important topic, would that have been a better way to spread the brand, to pretend to be a flat earther? Should we have also pretended to get into the Trump thing? Could have rode the flat earth, the Trump. Should I pretend? I could have pretended to be a Christian the whole time. I know that definitely would have helped. Should I have just pretended the whole time? Of course I'm a Christian. Let's close every stream with a prayer to Jesus. You know, is that what I should have done? Sometimes I think maybe that if I could do it all over again, that might have been the right move. I really wanted to get the gematria out there, but I had to ride the waves. I had to ride the lanes that were already built, the ones that were being built. Because again, these were like highways, right? It's like, here, you want to get on the highway and keep it moving and make some progress. You better go in those lanes. That's where the traffic is. That's where the eyes and ears are. You know, here's the funny thing. Had I done those things, I'd have way less people attacking my name. Again, the first attack videos made against me, well, people didn't even know anything about me when attack videos were already coming out. Some people said, man, you must be legitimate because I've never seen anybody come on a YouTube and 2 weeks after making their first videos, they already have attack videos against them. I remember what the one guy was that said all the bodies in the Civil War. I can't remember his name. Dave something. He was like, well, he used to attack me all the time, just out of nowhere. But he used to have a pretty popular YouTube channel. When I first started, he probably had like 50,000 subs. I probably had like not even 1,000 subs. He was already making attack videos. But his claim to fame was like, you look at old battlefield deaths, like the Civil War. He would claim that all of those were blow-up dolls, that nobody ever died in the Civil War. Nobody ever died. His argument was nobody ever died in a war, that every war was fake. There's never been a war. Christian guy. But he was always making videos about me, saying gematria was stupid. But yeah, once I started asking people's questions about being a Christian, and I wasn't even mean to Christians, I just say, no, I was raised Lutheran, but I don't identify as religious anymore. Next thing you know, you got Russian vids. Christ denier, Zachary K. Hubbard. Then the flat earth comes around, then Russian vids the flat earth. Christ denier, flat earth denier, Zachary K. Hubbard. You know, then call for an uprising. All these people making videos like this. Man, had I just gone along with everything, I don't think I would have had any attack videos. Amazing. You just go along with lies and everybody likes you. I wasn't paying attention to the chat. So what? Maybe I should reinvent myself. Should I reinvent myself as a Christian Republican, flat earth Trumper? Should we try it out? Should we see the experiment? Should we do it for a year? We're Christian right-wing flat earth Trumpers. I am being facetious. I would never do it. No, because at the end of the day, there's integrity and credibility. And the reality is as long as they don't Georgia Guidestone us, I will keep pushing forward. And someday, I do think we'll achieve what we're trying to achieve. It might be too late for a lot of people by then, but no, I think in the end, from not writing the highways of misinformation, if you will, I think there will be a justification in the end. Here's my mom's comment. My mom's out there. Well, here's the problem though, Mom. Just let you use you as an example, right? Del Bigtree, your favorite show to watch, total shill operation. Yeah, there's some good information out there, but again, my mom doesn't understand what a gatekeeper is. She doesn't understand the idea of a gatekeeper. Del Bigtree's program is a gatekeeping operation. Just keeps you in a certain lane of focus, pouring out nothing but medical information that goes against what the authorities are saying. That's fine. There's value to that. But the problem is, just take your own daughter, for example. She doesn't care about Del Bigtree because he's a small media platform. She's going to take what they say on CNN or George Stephanopoulos that has more value to her, just like how it is for 90% of Americans. My sister, my mom's daughter, represents 90% of America. So Del Bigtree, what he does, it's only going to appeal to people like us, the 10%. But then what does Del Bigtree do? You know, you get in Del Bigtree's chat and you leave a comment. You say, "Hey, Del Bigtree, maybe explore the Kabbalistic occult angle of this and why all of these people keep saying 56% this, 56 days that." You leave that comment and you show what it means in this occult code of gematria. What happens? Del Bigtree blocks you from his comment section. You say to your mom, you say, "Mom, I don't want you to keep sending me Del Bigtree stuff because he literally just blocked me and I can't post in his chat anymore," which tells me what she's about. And she goes, "Well, he doesn't want to look crazy." My mom's exact quote when this happened. "Oh, so what I'm doing is crazy." See, then your mom says, "Stay on focus with the gematria." Again, the problem is, though, at the end of the day, because of all the indoctrination and all the gatekeepers and all the frauds like Del Bigtree, almost everyone, essentially, at the end of the day, is serving the point of making anyone talking about the occult, which is how these people operate, look as crazy. And at the end of the day, understanding that all their medical stuff is bunk and bullshit, that is important, but doesn't anyone with a brain already know that? I mean, what people don't know about is the occult, and even people like you, and most of the people who watch Del Bigtree, they don't know about any of this stuff. And I'll argue all day that this stuff proves more what's going on. Does Del Bigtree ever talk about the Jesuits? No, never. I know one time he brought on a guest who briefly mentioned Anthony Fauci's Jesuit education. That doesn't matter when you do 10,000 hours of show and there's 30 seconds of the word Jesuit in there one time. That's not a focus. Again, what people need to know about is that we are ruled over by the occult. And if you learn the occult techniques they work by, you can see through who runs the show and what they're doing. And nobody wants to talk about that. So, Mom, I get all that. None of that changes anything. Doesn't change one thing. Yeah, and exactly. Exactly. Del Bigtree with his big schnoz, another one from the tribe who changed his name very obviously. Yeah, I've noticed that before about his name, that his name equals the Jesuit order. Yeah. So, yeah, again, if somebody blocks a well thought out post about all the 56s and why it would be a good topic to discuss, if they block that so you can't post there anymore, that shows you what they're about. Somehow in my mom's brain, that doesn't register. Her quote was, "Well, he just doesn't want to look crazy." Oh, you're very supportive of the work. Okay, so you just communicated that you think the work is crazy and he's protecting his own interest by blocking me. Great. Um, no, I'm not taking it out of context. That's exactly what you said. It's exactly what was said. He doesn't want to look crazy. Um, yeah, here let's do a decode on Del Bigtree. Del Bigtree, who's made a lot of money off the scandemic, doing his brand of propaganda. Let's see. Let's look at Del Bigtree. Del Bigtree. Del Matthew Bigtree is an American television and film producer who is the CEO of the anti-vaccination group Informed Consent Action Network. He produced the film Vaxxed: From Cover Up to Catastrophe, based on the discredited opinions of Andrew Wakefield. It is really crazy how they just smash Andrew Wakefield's name. It's like, where is his work discredited? I'm not against everything Del Bigtree's done. But hold on. Let's see where he comes from. He briefly worked on Dr. Phil. So again, this guy comes from the establishment. This guy comes from the media. Dr. Phil, another propagandist. Hold on. It's been a minute since I looked at this guy. I know he has more connections to the mainstream media than just Dr. Phil. So Anyway, it doesn't matter, but he's one of them. And that's a lot of people just do not understand controlled opposition. It's pretty much what almost the entire truth community is. They're only going to take you so far. They're never going to show you who's running the show. They're going to keep you focused on people like Anthony Fauci. Yeah, he's one of them. He's Jesuit educated Holy Cross. He's one of their little pawns on the chessboard. But you got to understand it's something bigger than Anthony Fauci. You got to understand it's something bigger than Bill Gates. You got to understand the order that stands behind all these faces that are so commonly seen in the media. Something Del Bigtree never talks about. Del Bigtree never talks about how important the Catholic Church and its many secret societies related to it essentially run the hospital network. Why would you not talk about these things? Why would you not talk about how important Skull and Bones is to the many hospital chains in this nation? You know, Informed Consent Action Network. Yeah, 153 Jesuit order. Exactly. Everything's coded out, controlled opposition. And again, Del Bigtree's big with RFK Jr. Yeah, RFK Jr. talks a good game in a lot of things, but Jesuit educated. Again, people don't want to put two and two together. How come out of all the days RFK Jr. could have held his anti mandate gathering in DC, out of the entire calendar year that he could have done it, he did it on Georgetown's birthday when he's Georgetown prep educated. Out of all the days he could have entered the presidential race, he had to choose April 5th, 4/5/23. We told you that day it was connected to Donald Trump and the coming assassination hoaxes, stories to come. We called it all out the day he got in the race. Again, he got in the race 144 days after the Superior General's birthday. Jesuit Order 144. His dad dead at 1:44 a.m., so the history books say. JFK dead 144 days from meeting with the Pope, so the history books say. Had to get in 144 days after on 4/5. Had to give his first speech for why he was running for president on Ignatius of Loyola Day, April 19th. Ends up partnering with Jesuit Donald Trump. By the numbers. On the 220th day of RFK's age, teams up with Trump when Donald John Trump equals 220. Inauguration day, 220 days from Trump's birthday. 220 Republicans in the House. Again, there's definitely things to like about RFK Jr. and Del Bigtree. But you have to see that they are chosen characters on the world stage that are only going to take you so far. The establishment's going to stay in power. These people aren't dumb who run the world. They know they got to give you some things to make you like them, to make you buy in. You know? My mom, who's gone from a lifelong liberal to now someone who's close to voting and supporting Trump, she's sending me what's the Awaken with JP guy? She sent in his video the other day, him making fun of liberals who are upset about the election. I'm like, so this is where you are now? Awaken with JP? God. And about Awaken with JP, I'm annoyed by that guy because anyone who read my book, Number Games, knows that when RFK Jr.'s book came out in his documentary, The Real Anthony Fauci, it followed themes in my book like almost to a T. There's no reference, there's no mention of me in the book. My book was out 2 years before his. It really does feel like he followed some very serious parallels in my book. And he gave credit and inspiration to Awaken with JP? The hell did he ever talk about any of these things comparing 9/11 and the cooties and again, I mean, it's an intellectual problem, you guys. Just most people don't have enough brain power to get it. They just don't on any matter. On any matter. Trump right now, his idea to eliminate the IRS, awesome. The income tax, awesome. But again, you look at the bigger picture, like, okay, he's also got these guys standing next to him about this surveillance, total surveillance state. Who needs an IRS when you're on digital currency and the AI's keeping track of everything? You don't need an IRS. Maybe they do get rid of the income tax and it's gone for a few years, and then they like to create things that create problems for the future, so they can come in with their planned solution. And maybe we get even more out of hand with our debt and our liabilities, and we need a bigger income tax than we ever had before. And now there's no way to escape the super detrimental tax burden. You're under the watchful AI IRS. with an income tax rate that's never been seen before. People will watch this and be like, you got to stop just like having a negative outlook and try to see the positive. I'm just trying to be a realist. I'm the guy who's been warning about the surveillance police state since 9/11 happened. I saw it day one. I don't know what's wrong with everybody else. Just like when I was 7 years old, I could see the NBA was rigged. I don't know what's wrong with everybody else. They still can't see it. Michael Jordan was the guy when I was 7. Was Michael Jordan really that great? I mean, he could do anything. He could do anything. He could have clawed a dude's eyes out. It wouldn't have been a foul. One person breathe on him, he'd be shooting 2 free throws and probably a technical. I mean, that's how the game was. It's like Patrick Mahomes now, the new Jordan. You tackle him, it's 15-yard roughing the passer. Same shit. Society that just can't see through anything. I was 7 years old when I saw through most of this shit. Well, yeah. LeBron, who couldn't make a shot in high school, then he goes to the NBA, 3-foot deeper three-pointer, and he drains them all. It's like, no jumper in high school. If anyone's played basketball, you know that high school three, it's a jump shot. It's not even hard. I can shoot over 50% easy from the high school three. 3-point NBA three, you back that up 3 feet, you definitely add an element of difficulty. But LeBron, from couldn't make a three to save his life in high school to just draining them all day in the NBA. People don't even blink an eye. Playing against way better defense, way better competition. Now all of a sudden you got the 3-point shot. Go to a Harlem Globetrotters game. They never miss a shot from beyond half court. Disney put out a movie in the beginning of the 80s about basketball and magnetic rims. David Blaine did the advertisement for the NBA that was huge in the 2000s. Is it magic or is it magnets? Now we're in the NFL where they use a special ball for the kicks, and you see these kicks where it looks like they're going right through the uprights, and all of a sudden they spin hard and just slice off and miss the shot. And you're like, what the hell? Kicks that bend out right, they're going to miss, and then they bend back towards the middle and split the uprights. Like, are people watching this? You don't think there's some kind of technology in that ball? Whoever saw, go back to 20 years ago in the NFL. Were there ever field goals that spiraled out to the right and came back to the left to sink? I mean, that never happened. It's been going on now for, I don't know, last decade. As the game goes on, more technology, it becomes even more rigged. Everyone's watching the last week NFL game. All week, the spread was 8.5 points for the Texans-Chiefs game. If you bet the Chiefs to cover early in the week, you won the bet because they won by 9. But the day that the game went off, Vegas changed the spread to 9.5 points. 9.5. Chiefs ended up winning the game by 9 points. How come they only won by 9? Because they took a safety that made no sense at the end of the game. It literally made no sense. Well, unless you know Gematria. I'll tell you what they did. It made no sense, but they took a safety out and they went from an 11-point lead to a 9-point lead, which, again, with the new spread, changed the outcome for a lot of bettors. You see this stuff go on all the time. ESPN has a segment dedicated to it every day. It's called Bad Beats, where impossible things happen at the end of sports games, college and pro, that screwed gamblers. ESPN mocks its audience every night with it's the late night broadcast, like the last thing they do for ESPN at the end of the day. Bad Beats, to show you how the gamblers got screwed. And again, it's because the games are rigged. By them taking that safety, not only did it change the spread, what it did was it made it so that the Chiefs are plus 59 in point differential versus the Texans in the playoffs all time in the year of Super Bowl 59. And you know what? There was only one team in the NFL this year that finished plus 59 in point differential for the regular season. That was the Chiefs. Do you remember how they got to plus 59 differential? They benched all their starters in the last game of the week, and they played Colorado. What's the number I've taught about for over a decade about Colorado and rig sports? One number. And again, a lot of people in this community made a fortune off that number. 38. Colorado equals 38. It's the 38th state. The Broncos won 38-0 over the Chiefs. The Chiefs were plus 97 in point differential coming in that game. They finished plus 59 right before the playoffs start. And Mahomes beat the Saints this year, hosting the Super Bowl 59 days after his dad's birthday. His dad, a pro athlete. Again, it's a rigged game. It's all numbers. Freemasonry equals 59. Modern Freemasonry created 59 years before this nation. In 1717, when 59 is the 17th prime and Mason's 17. And look at the AFC Championship. We said before the season began, the AFC Championship would either be Chiefs and Ravens or Chiefs and Bills. And it had to do with the sacrifices that were made for the Ravens and the Bills. O.J. Simpson was the biggest sacrifice in the offseason, dead 59 days after the last Super Bowl. His death announced literally as the Masters golf tournament, the biggest golf tournament of the year, was teeing off. The footage that day was shown of O.J. Simpson in his golf cart with a Titleist cap on. OJ talking about how he's going through a cancer battle. He'll be over it soon and he'll be back on the golf course. He was already on the golf course as he was talking about it. But OJ in his golf outfit is announced dead as the Masters tee off. Little sick gematria Bible joke. Again, Ephesians 6 verses 5 through 9. Slaves, obey your masters. Slaves, obey your masters. In gematria, slave equals 59, like Negro, like Rasta, like blues, like Motown came out in 59, like how we're in the time of the 59th presidential election, or when he died it was. Joe Biden won the 59th, brought Kamala to the White House by the numbers. Used to be in the White House with the guy named Renegade. That's Obama. That was a Secret Service named Renegade, which equals 59. You guys know the whole thing with Obama and Jennifer Aniston sync with Obama's movie Leave the World Behind, where a central theme is friends. From the release of that movie to the Aniston thing was 457 days later, the 88th prime, when Jennifer Aniston equals 88. Jennifer Aniston also equals 173, and the news yesterday was 173 days after Obama's birthday. Look at all the popular YouTube videos about Obama and Aniston. I mean, millions of views yesterday. Millions of views. I think my video, I checked last night, it had 2.8K views. It's hard. It's hard to be in the content creation business and be like, man, I had my channel in 2017 where every video had at least 10K views within 30 minutes. And now it's like videos. Now I have a channel with over I have a channel with over 2,000 videos. And only like 30 videos even have 10K views. 30 out of over 2,000. It's over 2,100. 1 in 70 videos get to 10K views. 1 in 70. That's just barely better than 1%. It's like 1.4% of videos get 10K views. Something that I can't remember a video getting like less than 50,000 views in 2017. So, part of me does wonder, though, if YouTube was manipulating everyone's views and making everyone's views bigger in 2017. But just back then, part of me wonders if that was going on. Because I'm like, it's just hard for me to imagine that views would fall off so hard. Were they manipulating their own stats for the sake of their advertisers? I didn't have any ads on my channel, but if they're just doing it to everybody, you could see the incentive why they're like, look at all the people that watch our videos. Look at all these views on all these videos. Pay to advertise here. Maybe the views weren't real. So maybe now only the chosen content gets the forced up artificial views, and channels like mine, not only do they not get their... see, that's the thing that I know that they do to my channel, because I watch the likes get taken away. I watch people's comments get deleted. I watch how the views just stop counting. They just fall off and die. You know, it's like, wow, nobody else watched the video ever again, huh? YouTube, I remember when I started, I was watching a video back in 2013. I was becoming a YouTuber. They're like, the way that most videos work in the algorithm is your videos won't get a lot of attention at first, but just give it time and you'll see the way the views take off. It's like, well, now I see how views just like you get a few and then just you don't get any more. Yeah, something definitely changed. Here, I got to block this guy right here. I just know this guy's a troll. All he leaves is troll comments. Adios. I need to collaborate with Owen Benjamin. That's a good way to get blocked. I don't collaborate with total shills and frauds. I mean, why aren't there a bunch of videos made about do you guys know how much money he stole from his community? He made over $1 million off his community by asking them to send $400. And he said, if you send $400, it gets you a right to come visit me and my property annually. And then after he made over $1 million off it, he told people that no one could visit. And a guy comes from Hollywood too, and he's another guy who's made videos making fun of my work. You guys saw when him and No Impact Flicks got together to debate. They started off their debate by making fun of me. It's like, wow, two guys who the algorithm let them get quite big channels. I know. You know what though? I almost sympathize with Brian now because the only videos he can get now are his cop watching videos. His meaningful videos that he makes aren't getting any views. He's also stuck at like 2K views. Again, there is a part of me that, even though I'm pretty sure Brian is a shill, there's a part of me that wants to like Brian because I still do like some of his rhetoric, and that's why I've tried to collaborate with him so many times and keep giving him the benefit of the doubt. But, yeah, I noticed the channel he's trying to do where he covers content other than cop watching. He cannot get any views on that channel, so it's definitely a different day and age. Because I don't know where Brian came from, but his channel grew very fast. I never tried to reach out to Brian until it was the mosque shootings in New Zealand. And that was the first time I ever tried to reach out to him because I still remember what came out of his mouth. He was showing the numbers on the mosques, and one of the mosques that was shot up was the address 223. And he goes, 223. Now that's an interesting number. And then he went on to say, like, people need to look more into numbers. So I was like, oh, okay, maybe he's kind of into this topic. And then when I reached out to him, he kind of started downplaying, like, Gematria. I just think that's kind of like all a bunch of coincidence and just like forcing kind of like, I don't really see the point in it. It literally is, he falls for almost every psyop, including the recent one of Trump supposedly releasing the Silk Road founder, where it's clear that the Silk Road was created by the CIA. The whole thing's a CIA operation. Build up the CIA puppet, Donald Trump, give him a little street cred. A lot of people right now thinking Trump's going to make America great. Yeah. Going to build the surveillance state. He might give you a few things that are great. Like, hey, I got to admit, man, you knock out the IRS and the income tax. That is great. But I see the long-range plan for how these people operate. It'll be back and worse than ever. Just give it a few more years after they get rid of it. And we'll see if they can get rid of it. There's going to be a lot of opposition to that. Numbers don't have to be cancer on radio. It's just numbers are cancer in most people's minds because, again, it's the spell people are under. It's the very small intellects. It's a society of mostly really dumb people. If I was listening to someone explain what I explain over the radio, I would enjoy it because I'm an intelligent person. I always like numbers. Intelligent people like numbers. The people who build the world like numbers. The Freemasons, again, based in Kabbalah, where numbers are very important. Builders like numbers. That's why they build the society through the occult knowledge, through this occult ritualism. And I think that's part of what they figured out, too, is that most people are pretty dumb. I mean, that's another observation I made at a young age. I realized that my classmates were pretty dumb at a young age. I was like, man, they're dumb. My teachers were like worshiping me, and I'm like, am I that smart? I don't feel like I'm that smart. Teachers are teaching me like they never seen anybody like this before. Oh my God, I've never seen anybody get through their math times table so fast. I was like, that was fast? I didn't realize that was so fast. I feel like everybody should be able to do that. But yeah, maybe I have to stop ripping on how dumb people are. I don't know. It's probably a turnoff to all the dumb people. I come from a place of tough love, though. I think dumb people should realize they're dumb. I mean, if they realize they're dumb, they'd realize that's why they're still falling for TV and government and puppets like Trump and Del Bigtree. That's a problem, too. Just a lot of people, they think they're a lot smarter than they are. They're not. They're not. So. All right. Thank you very much, Will Us 19 for the 20 big Canadians. Well, we'll see if pretty soon you're an American. See if they're going to do that. I feel like it's inevitable because they create the New World Order. Maybe they'll figure out how to recreate Pangea. Just be one big continent again. Trump emergency broadcast, October 3rd, 18 to January 20th, 2025. Well, I see what you mean by 201 day. January 20th is the 201st day of the year. 2031 days. Yeah, Ignatius of Loyola has the 201 and the 231 connection. Yeah, that's interesting. Jesuits is 103. Okay. All right. I got to do the stream on Patreon. Starts at noon Pacific, 3 Eastern. Yeah, that's true at the end of the day. People just want to experience pleasure. They want to have fun. They want to have good food. They want to have friends and family. They want to have sex. That's all part of the human experience. But it's just like I guess that's where it requires the people of greater intellect to say, well, listen, man, we all want to live happily. Are we going to live happily if we have evil people ruling over us, driving us to a tyrannical police surveillance state? I mean, I guess if you're dumb enough, though, like you don't even care. It's just like the panel of people are like, well, I don't really care if they watch me. It's sad, man. It's just people's, yeah, yeah. Most people, they just want to be told what to do, don't they? They want to be told what to do. They want somebody to take care of their problems for them, look out for them. They want to believe a man's coming down from the sky to save all things. They want to believe a big orange goon, proud pussy grabber who wants to have sex with his own daughter, who sold us out and brought in communism in 2020 is going to come back and make America great again. I'm frustrated that we put out so much great information and it's reached so few people. And even the people who are here and received it, it seems like very little people retain anything. And out of the group of people who are here, you know, no one motivated to it's like I need good compilation videos. There's a lot of great compilation videos that could be made. Instead, you got the jealous hater types trying to just screen record everything and put together compilations of the worst of the channel. Which is if you took for all the great things on this channel, it'd be 9 great things for every bad thing. So. Warrior Bone says thoughts on last week's final score. Ravens, yeah. Again, 3 out of the 4 scores last week. Ravens lost 25-27, like it says up there. Ravens 25, Buffalo 27. Eagles back-to-back weeks, 22 points in their scores. Eagles 22. I mean, it's the same stuff week after week. You just pay attention. If you guys don't know what they did last year, Doug Williams, the first black quarterback to win the Super Bowl from Louisiana, like Jaden Daniels. Again, last week the Commanders got their 666th franchise win. Daniel 6 is about, Daniel leaving the Lions den unscathed. But Jaden Daniels, the rookie quarterback who went to LSU, got the Louisiana connection where the Super Bowl is. Doug Williams is also from Louisiana. Last week, the game was 162 days after Doug Williams' birthday. The Chiefs became 16-2. Every year we've shown how all of Mahomes' Super Bowls are connected to Montana and Doug Williams. And Doug Williams equals 145 in Gematria. Last week, the Commanders became 14-5. But yeah, just a perfect ritual with both of those teams advancing on the same day. And Mahomes had tweeted before the game that a verse from the Bible where God asks Abraham to sacrifice his son, but then has him sacrifice a ram. Goff, who used to be on the Rams, who got upset that day as Daniels advanced. And of course, the Rams had lost the day earlier. But again, just reminding you that it is all scripture. And by the way, you guys, this is the 105th NFL season. Bible equals 105. It's Super Bowl 59. Revelation equals 59. Just something that could happen if the Eagles end up in there. If they win this week on Kobe's death anniversary, Kobe's from Philly, and they lose in the Super Bowl, look it up. The Eagles franchise record will be 666 wins and 666 losses, and they'd be 17-4 for the year, like number of the beast equals 174. Again, Commanders just got their 666 franchise win last week. And don't forget, in week 6, remember they synced up OJ's death with Ephesians 6. In week 6, That's where the first win of the week was the 49ers. OJ's from San Francisco and finished his career at the 49ers. The last win of the week was Buffalo, the team OJ made his name with. But that week began with the 49ers getting their 666th win to start week 6 and their 6th straight win versus the Seahawks in Seattle, where the beast quake happened by the numbers. The beast quake. Seattle's on the 47th parallel, like beast equals 47. Like how they've done a lot of satanic stuff with Trump, whose name also equals 47, including how he runs on the highest degree of the Church of Satan, mega. And they did another 666 ritual with the Seahawks this year. Remember, the 49ers won with 36 points when they got their 666 win. 666 is the 36 triangular number. The Bears-Seahawks game yielded another 666 ritual, and the score was 3-6. But both the 666 games in the regular season were against the team from the land of the Beastquake. Here, 49ers, Seahawks, box scores. This game right here, October 10th. And keep in mind, Revelation equals 1010 in Jewish gematria. That was on Gavin Newsom's birthday, Jesuit scumbag. But 666 franchise win right there. And Seahawks, Bears, you'll see the score was 3-6. And the big story in the news that day was bird flu, which also equals 36. But again, the Bears got their 666th franchise loss, losing 3-6. So, again, scripted sports, scripted politics, the same secret societies controlling it all. So, if you want to call in, I'm about to start the stream on Patreon. I got to start right now because that stream starts in 4 minutes. So if you want to join us on Patreon, we'll be over there talking a little rigged football, seeing if we can capitalize again. All right, until next time, True Seeker. Thank you to everyone who hits the like and the share. Patreon links in the description of every video. A lot of you guys never open up descriptions of videos. You should do that for all channel. That's where all the hidden goodies are for most videos. Links for things you need to get to, where you can support people. Yeah. And that's everything YouTube did. They used to have it where like the display of every video was more on display. It was more obvious. For about the last 4 years now, it's been a minimized thing that you don't see, and you have to click on the thing to open it up. YouTube's done all this stuff on purpose because they know that that's how the YouTubers, you don't click on their links and go to other sites, and you don't financially support them through any other way other than super chats where they take 30% of everything. So, yeah, everything YouTube's done is pretty devious, but you could argue they're just trying to protect their own bottom line. It's just maybe at some point in the future there won't even be a description place to post anything. It's pretty much irrelevant, though. Almost nobody clicks on anything in the description. Where's your links? It's like, man, people really don't know how to use just like clicking. And I mean, it's learn to explore a little bit. Learn to explore. So anyway, we'll leave it there. Till next time.